All right. Three, two, one. You're live.
Hello, everybody. It's Karen Anderson here with Aortic Hope's Weekend Review. And before we get started, do me a favor, click that like button, thumbs up, like, what have you. Click the subscribe button, which is the bell. This way you'll be notified every time we go live. Because we go live for the Weekend Review, we go live when we interview people, we go live with Survivor Series. So there's a whole mess of stuff that we do, and you don't want to miss out on it. So click subscribe, click like, drop us a comment. We'd love to banter with you, hear from you. Share this on your own personal social media so that other people can find out about us and learn some very interesting information. And with me today, I have our own Jenny Schaefer. That's my round of applause, as much of a round as I can make. And we have Diane Bishop of Aortic Health Unlimited. All
You
right, roll tide.
Row Tide.
Hey, and I was just in Penn State, so I just learned we are. That's what they say. We are. And then someone says Penn State.
Penn State.
And then you do it three times, and then someone says thank you, and somebody else says you're welcome. Very, very
Ours
nice.
is much easier here in Ohio.
What is it?
OHIO.
That's pretty simple. That's all they do is OHIO.
Yeah.
Okay. I think ours is probably just
well,
go
one
church.
side of the stadium they go
Oh,
around and they go OHIO,
okay.
OHIO.
See, I'm kind of digging it. I'm kind of liking it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff. All right, ladies, let's dive into this week in review, and we're going to start off with Medical Monday. And this is all about a glossary that we have. So one of the many overwhelming aspects, as I'm sure you would all agree, when it comes to the aortic community, is the aortic day-to-day terminology. We could call it aorticology. I think I'm going to phrase that terminology right now. But with the help of the Corrigan Minahan Health Center, we're actually sharing with you all the time. We have sharing with you on our resources page is a list of all of the common words and phrases that are used within the aortic community. So it really does help define things such as abdominal aortic aneurysm, which is an AAA. But we know a lot of people in the community, the new people, tend to come out and say, I have a AAA, but they're confusing that with ascending aortic aneurysm. But really, AAA stands for abdominal aortic aneurysm. So it tells you a little bit about that. Type A aortic dissection versus a type B talks about everything bicuspid valve, hypothermic circulatory arrest. Just so much stuff is in this glossary. So this is meant to really make it easier for you to have a conversation with your physician. This is what it looks like when you click on the link to the glossary. We've kind of broken everything down. I mean, you want to talk soup to nuts or A to Z. I mean, if you wanted to know what antegrade cerebral perfusion means, it's there. I didn't even know it was the thing, but there it is. Everything is literally in this glossary. So I don't know if either of you have had a chance to check it out or like look at it, but I'll tell you that I often refer back to it when I see something in radiology, or something that my doctor mentions. I'm like, oh, what the heck is that? If I forget, I'll go back and I'll just check out this glossary. I mean, it really is very easy to understand compared to the words, right, that's being used.
Right.
So there you go.
Thank you for sharing that and posting that, because it makes it so much easier and less, I guess, if you say scary, but once you understand things and the terminology and the meaning of things, you can relate to them easier. But I do like this. I do like this very, very much, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, you're super welcome.
Nice.
I agree. I think that the words that are used, because it's medical, it's like got to be a big
Right.
word, everything has to have some Latin root to it or something like that. It just makes it scary. But when you get a chance to kind of read the definition and what they're referring to, it's not as scary. Not a lot of mystery there anymore. So that was our Medical Monday. Again, it's always great to bring up this glossary. You can find it all the time under the resources section of our website. You'll just look for this graphic, and there it will be. All righty. Topic Tuesday, time to check in on your health. We
Whoa,
talked a little bit
lady. You
about
don't
this.
just rush into the next
Oh, I was
segment.
rolling. I was rolling.
We want to say hi to Bo and Ryan and Karen. They all jumped in.
Look at all these people.
Hello, Dad. We like that.
Beautiful Monday. So I'm writing down because I like to remember who came on. Bo,
And he gave
Ryan,
us his tagline. He said, "Bo is here," and then he said again.
that's Bo's tagline. You know when Bo is in the house. Bo is here.
Ryan says,
Thanks for joining
in
us.
Michigan, when they say OHIO, we boo.
Oh, that's okay.
Exactly.
Look, I just
Yes.
If
went
you're
to
a Wolverine, that is, if you're a Wolverine, you boo. Sparty doesn't. Well, Sparty doesn't like us either.
I just went to my first hockey game where as they were announcing the players from the other team, Philadelphia, in only the way that Philadelphians could, yelled, "You suck," every time somebody's name was announced. Mm.
Yeah. You
I was
know,
Oh,
ducking. I was ducking. I'm
I
like, that's kind of rude.
the amount of the class is just killing me.
It's not great. It's not
I
very
heard
classy.
it's fun. A hockey game is fun.
So fun.
Uh, I heard it really is. I never been, but at one point someone invited me to go to a hockey game,
Mm.
and they said it's real fun. And which going to I always say going to a live football game at college, as you know, Karen, is football is big over here. Go Alabama, Crimson Tide, and Roll Tide. But let me tell you, a hockey game, I heard they could get physical. Which, don't get me wrong, when I mean physical with hockey, somebody was telling me I'm talking about beating each other with a hockey stick.
It's awesome. It's
I never
awesome. It's
been, but I
great.
do want to go.
Yeah, I mean, people were banging up on the plexiglass, which I think you can do, but not near the timeout box, the penalty box. I call it timeout because that's what happens when they get in trouble. They get put in timeout. I guess that's what they're supposed to do is just, you know, think it through a little bit. Make a better decision next time you're on the ice.
Uh huh.
I didn't understand. I mean, they had this extra special point thing where you just got extra people on the team. It reminded me of free throws
Free
and
throw.
basketball. Yeah, I was getting all my sports confused, but I did
Was
have a
that
lot of
the
fun.
first game, Karen?
My first hockey game, and courtesy of my sister, courtesy of her company, we had some tickets. We got to eat a lot, and yeah, fire went off, and it was just fun. It was just very fun. I liked it.
Nice.
It's perfect
Nice.
temperature for me. I was. It was nice. It wasn't cold. It was perfect. Happy.
Hmm.
Could have fallen asleep in that temperature. It was wonderful. It's good. Good times. Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We are now going to go on to Topic Tuesday. We talked about this last week, talking about how certain times of the year, like when it's daylight savings, you might want to change your batteries on your blood pressure cuff too. So just easy way
Hmm.
to remember certain things. Well, in an article by Essentia Health, this article actually reminds people that it's time now to check in on your health. And that's because as the warming temperatures are coming around, as we're encouraging people to spend more time outside and return to almost a busier lifestyle. So this is the perfect time to remember, let's get a checkup. A lot of us in the aortic community, we're on top of our scans. We know when that cardiology appointment's coming. And sometimes we tend to push the checkups with the primary care physicians to the side. So while you're doing all of your scans and you're doing your echoes or you're scheduling your blood work, there's a lot of other preventive tests and appointments you should be scheduling. So this could be a mammogram, it could be a prostate exam, it could be skin check and all of our skin check. Some of our medications might make us more sensitive to the sun, and then we could be more prone to skin cancer. So as we know, and as Essentia Health mentions, successful outcomes are more likely when conditions are detected early. So, an annual checkup for adults that includes blood pressure, it should, diabetes and cholesterol, that would be via blood work, cancer screenings, like we just talked about, through your mammogram, a colonoscopy screening if you're eligible and it's the right time, you should have that done. Management of chronic conditions that you might have, underlying conditions, addressing male or female specific tests and concerns, even family planning and birth control. So we also wanted to add, which was not in this article, skin cancer screenings too. So it is time to spring into action and to schedule any appropriate and preventive care appointments that you might need. So there is a link to this article that talks about that. And really what they mentioned in this article is how one person's annual appointment with their primary care led to detecting something wrong in their cardiovascular system. So that's why a lot of these things are really important, because you never know what
Mhm.
they lead to. So where are you guys at with your annual preventive screening tests and appointments? Have you
I'm always
scheduled
right
them?
on top of it. I do it every single January to start with, and then I keep 4 to 6 month appointments with my primary care. So
Very good. Good for you. Yeah, sometimes I start getting so sucked into my CAT scans and my echoes and my MRIs and that I forget. Oh yeah, that's right. I should probably have my skin checked. It's been a year,
Mhm.
but you know they're important. Where are you at, Diane?
Do I have to answer?
Hopefully, this was your friendly reminder. This was your PSA for the day.
Well, let me cut it short, okay? On top of the aorta and the heart and just pretty much the lupus deal, I have never had a mammogram, okay? And my primary, yeah, says, asked me, why haven't you gone mammogram? And my sweet short answer, it's not that I'm scared. I mean, since my dissection, the first surgery and stuff, I was like, I really don't feel like having them joker squeeze. I've heard some things about that, but cut it short and sweet. And this is live and stuff. No, I have not gotten on top of everything, but I am on top of all my aortic stuff. I have not had my eyeballs checked. Yeah, I'm pretty much blind as a bat, but I'm good. I'm good. Life is
Okay.
good for me. So,
Okay. So I'm not going to lecture you because you already know, and you're a big girl, you'll make your decision. But to
yes.
me, I think a mammogram I find them very amusing. But that's me. I it is
I agree.
literally so fast. And every time I have gone, I have said, I cannot believe there are people that are nervous to have this done. This was a nothing. The hardest part is making your arm like hold the handle. That's it. I stare and I look in reflections and I'm amazed. I call them smashograms. I'm amazed
Yes.
that the machine can get you that flat. It does not hurt. At best in one position could be mildly uncomfortable if they're doing it right and getting more of the skin in the armpit when they do a diagonal scan. But by the time you have enough to say this is uncomfortable, it's over before you even form the words the for this. It's done.
Yeah, you hold your breath for a second, and it's like,
Yeah. You're not even in
Really.
there 5 minutes. It's not even a
I
5 minute time.
thank you for telling me they go the other way too. I thought you
I
just
you
went
first
flat. I
literally
didn't know
first
they went.
one you stand there. I mean, it's a little awkward. Look, we're going to be honest. This is just a test, but it is a little awkward to have a woman grab your breast and just go and put it right down on a plate. And then with her
Mhm.
foot, she pushes the top plate down and says, hold it for just a second. Are you ready? Hold your breath. Boop, done. The machine lifts up. It's that fast. And then she turns the machine and has you hold it with a different arm and
Uh-huh.
positions you so it's diagonal and pushes it closed and said, and I always say, oh, you got my whole armpit in there. And she's like, we're already done. Oh, okay. I kid you not. It's two pictures on each breast. That's it. In and out. Boom, 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 done. And you'll even
here's
get a
how
sticker.
Did
here's
it go
how
back
easy
in
it
the
is.
shape?
It's so easy, Diane. I
Here's
promise you.
here's how easy it was for me when I was working in a corporate job downtown. They would pull a big mammogram bus in to an area, and you'd make appointments. They'd let you know that they're coming, and I would walk down there
Uh-huh.
out the garage into the bus, and in 10 minutes I was back at my desk.
Wow. I didn't know that they
Yeah.
had buses that actually you could actually have them done in. Nice.
Do you know that the longest part of having a mammogram is getting undressed and redressed?
Yep.
Wow.
And I was very scared to have my first one after open heart surgery because I was just like, is it going to
That's it.
hurt? And
Yes.
nope, doesn't hurt. Nothing.
Can't tell.
I promise you. I will promise you this. If there's something and you're unaware, that will hurt worse than to find out that everything is okay.
Okay.
But you have to make your personal decisions. As long as you're doing a self breast exam, that is also
I
very
do.
important.
Yeah.
So make sure you do that. At least get your
Mhm.
GYN or your primary care to double check the work that you're doing so you're not missing
Yes.
anything. Because you might miss some stuff. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. It is important. But obviously, we go and we get our teeth cleaned, we get our
Mhm.
skin looked at, and make sure if you have a really good skin doctor, they're checking in your folds of your ears, they're checking in your hair. And, if they're going to take your word for it and ask you behind your underwear or your bra, if there's anything there, double check yourself before you go
Right.
because you could. And even though it may be places that you think the sun never sees, you can still get questionable moles. So
Yes, you
it's important.
can.
Yep.
It is
They
important.
found a melanoma on me. I had melanoma.
See,
Really? How long ago was that?
2003.
Wow.
So 20 years ago.
yeah, my sister had a basal cell right in the fold of her nostril. She thought it
Uh-huh.
was like a zit or a pimple. And then after picking it and it coming back and coming back, it turned out it was a basal cell. She has a
Basal
nice
cell.
little scar. She had another one on her arm. That one looks a little bit more like a bullet hole wound at
I've
this
had
point.
literally a
So
100 of those.
Oh,
very
a
scary.
100?
It's my
Can you
light skin.
Yeah.
can you repeat that, please, Jan?
Oh, I've had literally 100 of those removed from me. Basal and
Woo.
squamous cell. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Man, sorry to hear that, but it's good to have them removed and get it taken care of right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, was that a surprise to you? Can that be genetic? I mean, or
Yeah,
too much
well, it's
exposure sun?
my light skin, and
Okay.
my older sister's had it even worse than me. She has all over her. She's a redhead, so
Okay.
yep.
Wow.
Important.
Good
Stay on
subject.
top of it. It's spring. Spring into action. Get those doctor's appointments taken care of.
Right on. Let's say hi to Pamela Singletary.
Hi, Pamela
Okay.
Singletary. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it as we work our way through the week's worth of posts. All right. No other comments, questions about Topic Tuesday?
Not yet.
Then we're moving on. We're moving on. Therapeutic Thursday, everybody. Okay. I know you guys have heard of this, ever heard of or been warned of the cardiac blues?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Then
real.
Yeah, it is absolutely real. And they actually say that more males experience the blues, or they actually experience it a little bit worse than females. But it is a known fact that if you're going to have open heart surgery, whether it's for aortic issues or a bypass or something of that nature, you can have the cardiac blues. But actually, if you're going to have anesthesia in general, you can still develop some
Mhm.
blues, just a little bit
Oh yeah.
different. So this is interesting because I found this article from Australia. So the Australian Centre for Heart Health explains cardiac blues as being, let's say if you've had a heart attack, heart surgery, or another cardiac event, uh, any of these would come as a shock. They generally come as a shock. And around 75% of people experience the blues after having a heart event, or that would
Hmm.
include unexpected changes in your mood, in your emotions. People can experience sadness, sometimes it's tearfulness, anger, irritability, worry, anxiety, confusion, forgetfulness. Sometimes people can withdraw from their friends or their family, loss of interest in life. These are just some of the many symptoms. And many people actually worry all the time whether or not they're going to get back to normal. So the blues encompass, like if you're sitting there and you're watching a Lifetime commercial or Hallmark commercial, many people are known to just start crying they're not too sure why. I mean, and it doesn't mean that you now have massive depression and you need medication. Having the blues, the cardiac blues is pretty normal. So most people that have cardiac blues, they're actually going to find that the depression or the symptoms of depression or the blues resolve fairly quickly. So let's take a look at what these blues might actually entail. To me, when I read it, it sounded almost like cardiac blues could be described similarly to that of grief. Like you're kind of in denial, you're in shock, you're
Hmm.
sad, you're negotiating. A lot of these things seem a little bit familiar, but shock. So you might find yourself thinking that did this really happen? I can't even believe I had a heart attack or I had open heart surgery. Like this is not, how can this be me? That happens to old people who smoke and drink and are really overweight. So I think shock, as you'll see through a lot of these, again, it reminds me of the feelings you have when you're grieving. But I would say that we could all say, because we've had aortic dissections, that we felt shock, right? It's part of the
Pretty
cardiac
much.
blues. Yeah. You fall into denial. It's kind of becomes hard to accept that this has actually even happened to you. And now this can be people with aneurysms too. When you're told you have an aneurysm, you might actually go into the blues before you've even had surgery. That would make
Mhm.
sense, right? You're in shock that you found out you've been
Absolutely.
diagnosed. Exactly, right? The
Yeah.
next one will be worry. I'm sure we've all worried that you might not get back to your other life. What is the 2.0 version or 3.0 version for some look like? Worry about the fact that you could die because you don't understand how your body operates. That could contribute to depression and cardiac blues, right? Guilt, might feel guilty that you are now a little bit more dependent on your caregiver. You might blame yourself in some way for what's happened to you. I think we've all probably felt these feelings. Another one could be anger. You feel a little angry or frustrated, irritated at the changes that have happened in your life.
Mhm.
hmm Sadness, you might feel low, miserable about your moods in general and how they're changing and the
Mhm.
fact that they're up and that they're down. And relief, you might
Right.
actually feel a sense of relief or thankfulness that your issue with your heart or your cardiovascular issue was actually diagnosed and treated. So it's just, it's a little strange how all these feelings kind of form in one, but they do tend to happen after you've had surgery. I think I felt all of these even after
Mhm.
gastrointestinal surgery. So I don't think it necessarily is just cardiac blues. For me, I
Mhm.
think it's more anesthesia blues, I think I'd like to call it. What are your guys' thoughts? Diane?
Okay, I have two things. First of all, for me, I experienced like the five stages of death, your anger, acceptance, denial, bargaining. I went through all that to begin with, laying there on the stretcher and stuff. Uh, Coming out, I had anger, and I'm gonna confess, and you of all people that I would say know me the best on here, Karen, I'm a very active, and before all this happened, a very passionate, free loving, active person. And I mean, I could put flooring down walls. I could lift up big rocks and stuff. And now I do. I'm 100% go through anger at time when I says I can't do this, or I have to stop. I have to regroup. And it comes and goes. The high and the low come and goes. And it's sometimes like, why do I get so frustrated and angry? It's this whole new life that I had. I'm under my second surgery with the new valve replacement. And now, things become harder to do, but I'm able to do it if I take to the extent, if I take the time. Like my gardening, I have to depend it on somebody to pull weeds out or move the
Right.
fountain out of the way. And I'm independent, hard headed because I had to be growing up. My second question, this is a question to you, Karen. When you say that they find it harder on men, could it be possible that it's harder on men? Because as women, we have hormones and we naturally uh, we go through them hormonal changes, and we're used to going in pain. And I'm not going to say in the basic term, we're so easier to adjust things and tolerate pain more than man, to where they find it harder to deal with. You understand what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say?
Yeah.
Could it be
Yeah.
possible that's why men say it's harder on them than women, possibly? Because we're so used and prone to so much adjustments with our body through menopause and through periods and stuff in general.
You know what? I just took a note of that because I'd like to make that be another article in the next week or so we can talk about it. That to me
Yes,
makes sense. I would think that,
yes,
we're used to have a cold, got to still take care of the
right,
family and cook, got to still clean, got to still go
exactly.
to work, whether we're crampy as all
Mhm.
hell because we've got our period. We deal with pain sometimes for multiple days, you know, every single
Yes.
month. Every single month, we're dealing with this kind of pain, and it
Right.
usually doesn't take us out. I remember my mother saying, "You're going to be dealing with this for a very long time. Go back. You're going back to school. Like life
Mhm.
goes on. You have to learn to manage and deal with it." And I think for a lot of men, sometimes not being able to do something and having to be in recovery mode is such a shock to their system, physically and emotionally, because now they're beholden to someone else. I don't think that men, but I could be wrong. I think, like you, we're just kind of guessing here, are
Mhm.
generally not reliant or used to feeling dependent upon
Right.
anyone else. And we all make fun of when a man gets a cold. Oh boy, you're going to hear it because
Yeah.
the joke is, the stereotype is that they're going to complain and whine and can't
Mhm.
handle it. Like they would never be able to handle menstrual cramps. There's just no way. Not once they were told you're going to have this now for the rest of your life. They're just never going to be able to do it. I think that's part of it. I really do.
Yes.
I'd be curious to hear from Brian or Bo or any other man that might be on with us today, what your thoughts
Mhm.
were. Did you experience this? What do you think it is about, coming out of anesthesia like that and
Mhm.
being so emotional? I witnessed it with my father. I witnessed my husband didn't have anything cardiac. My father did. He had quadruple bypass. But, even my husband, after having hip surgery, was a little bit different types of emotions I saw coming right out of that, and
Right.
having to be dependent. And there's different level. It's just like there's a little bit more irritability, a lack of patience. Whereas
Mhm.
we, I think, are just a little, and we're also a little bit more in tune with our emotions in certain ways. So
Mhm.
I'm curious to see what other people think. Jenny, what do you have your perspective?
I'm nodding to everything you just said. I think a lot of
Mhm.
it is men are, in addition to what Diane said, I think a lot of it is men are used to being the breadwinner, the caregiver,
Right.
the strong one, and now they have to face a little bit of, well, maybe I have to lay back with that a little bit, and
Mhm.
rely on somebody else to take care of me. So,
A little bit of
Mhm.
humble pie.
yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But in
Yep.
addition to that, Karen, just
Yeah.
one more thing with what happened to Rick. Uh he is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Uh he was very active and stuff, but I was explained from his doctors being that because he was gone for a few minutes and they had to bring him back and then was in the coma so long. Uh he's has some memory loss from it, but Rick is not the same Rick like what you meant. He's still loving, he still loves you, Karen, very much and everything. But for me, he's very quieter and he gets tired. I've seen him literally, just very humble, like I'm so tired, and go to bed without even eating.
Mm-hmm.
Like he don't
Yeah.
have the strength, but he's got some damage done from is due to the COVID and uh going into the cardiac arrest and again the anesthesia and stuff. But he's not the same Rick.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, we have any comments yet coming in
Yes,
from
we
anyone?
do. Pamela
Right.
says, no, no one ever mentioned it to me. I expressed all of those feelings to my cardiologist. She's now getting help. And she says, oh goodness, I cry with those commercials.
Mhm.
How I'm wondering how, I think I remember reading this story online, but I'm wondering how far into recovery Pam is. So I'll wait for that answer because I think,
Yeah,
obviously it's 8 years for me. I don't cry anymore at those commercials. It's a whole mess of
I
different
do.
emotions. When you don't feel well, you're like, oh crap, am I going through this again? And I was
Uh-huh.
just saying to everybody before we came online, the window of feeling good physically from head to toe is so tiny. There's such rare moments
Yes.
where I never have a moment where something doesn't hurt. Part of that's
Hmm.
age, part of that's menopause, and part of that is just my body's just different now. But I definitely don't have the same emotional reactions like I did. But
Hmm.
I mean, I remember, so my dissection was in 2015, and in 2012, I had to have back-to-back bowel resections because the first one had got an abscess. They had to cut me back open, and then with the second one, when I was recovering, I was outside on the phone with my mom, and I was like looking down at the scar, and they forgot to leave me a belly button. And I had the most beautiful innie belly button. Like, if I knew I wasn't going to get punished by my father, I would have had a belly button ring, but he would have grabbed a wrench and ripped it right out. It was perfect. Don't have a belly button. And to
I
me,
didn't know that.
yeah, it's like there's really nothing there, which is great because it's like one less thing you have to clean. But I looked at it emotionally after coming out of back to back 6 weeks, in between anesthesia, big surgery. Like, that was my connection to my mom. You know what I mean? That was
Hmm.
from your umbilical cord. And I got so sad and I cried so hard. And of course, it's funny. I look back now, but I know I was in the blues. Everything upset me. Commercials. Then I would get
Hmm.
upset that I got upset. That was even worse, and barely stand up to make yourself a sandwich. And I'm like, God, I'm a sloth. I'm useless. And
Hmm.
I'm so sorry, Pam, that nobody explained to you that this is
Right.
normal, that going through this range of emotions is just part of
Hmm.
everything. And you got to work out everything out of your system, and your brain's been through a shock. And what did one person one time told me, that tears, it's like the way of the brain healing. It's releasing its own toxins, and
Hmm.
it comes out through the tears. So, yeah.
It feels good to cry sometime. But I have two things to say, real quick, and then I'll shut up. I promise, Karen. To Pam, I'm, so sorry, that that happened. But this is why Aortic Hope is so important. They offer all this information. They have these support groups for survivors, for caregivers, uh, for those that are grieving. They have those support groups where you could ask the doctor. I mean, so that's why Aortic Hope is so awesome. It's growing, and it's a world within itself. So you found a good place. Number two, Josh back there behind the screen, being a man. My question to you, I understand. I got you, Josh. You know I'm coming at you. Now, my question to you, Josh, okay, I understand you probably didn't have no open heart surgery, but being a man, my theory, is it possible that being a man without you having experienced a menstrual cycle, the hormones, and as much stuff that women go through, could it be why men feel like they have it harder?
Oh,
Come on.
I think you guys were hitting the nail on the head when you were hitting the provider, when you're hitting your levels of being able to provide for your family.
Yes. Yes.
That's going to be the thing that'll take a man. It'll take the legs right out of a man, right?
Right.
And if you don't, like, the next thing below that, like honestly, is children. Like, if you take away their children, you might as well be chopping them in
Oh,
half.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, like, obviously, women are going to be able to work through many more, kind of trials and
Hmm.
tribulations through everything. But I mean, I'm not sure. I've heard some of you ladies say, I gave birth and then I had an aortic dissection, and I can honestly
Hmm.
tell you this aortic dissection was way more painful than birth. And so, then you hear some guys like, I didn't feel anything,
Hmm.
right? And so
Right.
that's the gamut that we're working with. Pamela came
Right.
back and said 4 years, 4 months, and she says she was better earlier. She also
Yeah.
says that upcoming surgery has her on a roller coaster. She's got an arch
Yeah.
Oh.
replacement scheduled.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't we
It
have
would
a
put
thing for that?
anybody. Wait a minute. Care packages?
Yeah, Pamela, make sure you sign up for a care packet.
Not only with us, but you can also go and pop over to Aortic Health Unlimited, and I'm sure Diane's got a little something up her sleeve for you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if you don't have blood pressure cuff. It's mostly what we specialize in because believe it or not, there's people that can't afford a blood pressure cuff. And whether you have an aortic dissection or just a basic illness, your blood pressure could tell you many a things. I mean, the main thing is that something, it could tell you when something is wrong, and you could get to your doctor. So it don't matter if you have aortic dissection or not. That's the first thing they do when you go to the doctor is check your BP. So give me a holler if you need that. And that's what, especially what we specialize in. Just take care of yourselves.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Well, looks like the men that were with us, they gone a little silent.
Oh, sorry. No, no, no.
Oh,
Oh,
What did happen was Ryan was he said he missed the question because he was going to pick up his daughter, and I said, "Did
oh,
you find that you had the heart blues after your surgery? If so, how long did it last?" And Ryan goes, It's complicated."
and
yeah,
that would be the answer. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think we all hit the nail on the head. I think
right.
it's a level of vulnerability that men are not used to, and
Mm-hmm.
look, we're women. We're born and we're trained that we are more vulnerable. So I think we learn
Right.
tools to deal with that. So interesting. I wrote that note. I'm going to look for an
Thank
article on
you.
that. Yes, yes, I
Mm-hmm.
will. All right. We are, gosh, we're already on to Feel Good Friday, everybody. Let's feel good after coming out of Thursday. This was a friendly reminder. It's our 5-year anniversary of being a nonprofit. Can you believe it? We actually just hit our 5th year as of April 11th. So we are offering $5 off the minimum suggested amount of a donation, and that is through the entire month of April. You'll get your choice of color of help belt, which is the seat belt cover. I usually have one right now here handy. There it is. There's one in yellow. I think this one is our medical alert belt. Comes with a card in the back that allows you to write down your in case of emergency, any allergies, medications you're taking, doctor's information. But you can choose between yellow, red, or black, and you can choose abdominal aortic aneurysm, thoracic aortic aneurysm, aortic dissection, medical alert, Loeys-Dietz syndrome, or Marfan syndrome. Those are the ones that we have. If there's something specific you'd like, of course, you can send me an email at info@aortichope.org and I'll look into it for you. But again, we do ask that you would consider a minimum donation of $15 domestic, but through the month of April, it's only going to be 10, and that only applies to domestic. Unfortunately, to ship overseas, you guys, it's expensive. So we ask for a minimum donation of $20. But you can click the link that's on this blog, or you can go to our Hope Swag, Hope Shops, sorry, and the link to order is there as well. So I'm getting ready to order a new one because I like these new ones that Velcro. I had the very, very original that had a little snap, but I kind of prefer the Velcro
Mhm.
ones, and they're very comfortable. They're very comfy. All right, Feel Good Friday. Move on to Saturday. Survivor Series Saturday. And we had a great Survivor Series this week. This was presented by Alex and his wife, Lydia, Alex and Lydia Lima. Alex was sharing his story of survival. He basically survived an aortic dissection and talking about setting up doctor's appointments, right? Because we were saying we should do that in spring. Um, it was talking to his primary care physician that took some time to think about his aorta when he was examining Alex. He basically listened to Alex, helping him make some smart decisions about his care. And Alex emotions shine through this video. They really do. And we really think that this video will resonate with all of you. But again, it comes down to talking with your physician and having a physician that listens to you and your concerns. And I think it was that primary care physician that really helped set Alex on the path of saving his life. So we want to hear from you. We want to know what you were feeling that led you to the diagnosis of an aortic aneurysm or aortic dissection. We want to know what your treatment was like. We want to know all of that because if there was a reason why maybe you were misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed, that's important. And we're going to share that with our Think Aorta US team because we need our first responders and doctors to learn. We need people to be thinking about the
Mhm.
aorta. We need you to share your medical issues with your family. We need to have those important conversations as well. Aortic dissections are rare, but aortic disease in general is much more common than you think. And you can share your story by writing a blog. You can do it as a pre-recorded video or go live like we are here and take some questions from the audience. We've got stories on both of you, correct, Jenny? Yeah.
Mhm.
Diane, now we're eventually going to need to do the where are you now? We need to do some follow-ups from everybody. Get a feel for where you are. Diane, you've had surgery twice now.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
We should get a follow-up from you as well. But
I had valve
yeah,
replacement about a year
they did.
ago,
What
so
did you
yeah.
choose? Did you choose mechanical or tissue?
I have a tissue valve,
Ah,
so I have the cow.
no. All right.
I'm beefing.
You're beefing. God help me. All right. It's our
Hold on,
Saturday
hold
Survivor
on one
Series.
second. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob says that the help belts are the best, and his local EMTs
Yes.
love them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point. We want our local EMTs to love them because we're hoping that if God forbid we're in a car accident, they're going to see them. And they are.
Right.
They're very bright. They are eye
Mhm.
catching. They're not something you see every day. I mean, it's also important to have a medical ID bracelet or dog tag, which you can get through Lauren's Hope, but these are really going to be the first thing that someone's going to see. So I'm glad you like yours, Rob. I'm glad your EMTs like them as
Mhm.
well. That's awesome. All right. Are we ready now? Dare I click the button? We're moving on to Scientific Sunday. This is all Ryan Rodimer's corner. He's our director of genetic education. He started a blog series for us. We started it 2 weeks ago, kind of did a little bit of Aorta 101. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics over the next couple of weeks. It's very interesting. These are all topics that can be used to have a conversation with your physician. I'm curious to know how much you guys knew about this or where your thoughts are, or if you've had your own testing. But this week's was Marfan Syndrome and basically understanding the connection to aortic dissection and what you might need to know. There's a lot of information here. I'm going to allow Ryan to do his own live video series about this blog. So I'm not going to read everything. That plus, I think my tongue would get tied because there's that much information. But if you missed the first post that he did, you should really check it out. It's a really good place to start. This is where Ryan laid down the groundwork for the rest of this entire series. So he's going to be talking about some of the terms that he used in that post throughout this series, this post, and the rest of the series. So check out the first one if you didn't have a chance. But as he said, let's dive into the world of Marfan syndrome. And as someone who has been affected by type 1 or the type A dissection, Ryan is a genetic counselor, but he's also an aortic dissection survivor. So how lucky are we and how lucky is the public, right? Now you've got somebody who's been doing this as they're living and now they've experienced this firsthand. I say lucky, I'm not sure if he would say it's luck, but he is lucky because he's here to tell the tale. But he knows how important it is to kind of consider and understand Marfan syndrome as a starting point. So a lot of people, even doctors, they might think, which I did, that when you have Marfan, you have to be tall and you have to be thin. We all think of Abraham Lincoln, right? Okay, that's what I think of when I hear of Marfan. I think of good old Abe. And just because you're tall and you're thin doesn't mean you have Marfan. And just because you have Marfan doesn't mean that you're automatically tall and thin. So these are fallacies that exist, but there's many other reasons why someone could have aortic issues, but Marfan syndrome is just probably the most well-known, and it's just one of them. So in Ryan's journey, he's basically come across many doctors who can't really understand why he didn't have Marfan syndrome himself. I actually had my own doctors in the beginning say, how is this possible? You don't have Marfan syndrome. I don't, did you guys experience that at all or have anybody question
No,
Marfan? Did they talk to you about Marfan or offer to test you at
Nope.
all?
nope.
Nope.
See, we're still that
Nope.
first generation, and that's still frustrating because I think now we're starting to see that happen more and more, the
Mhm.
openness about genetic testing. But, what's so crazy is he says here, um, even though Marfan wasn't behind his aortic disease, it still ended up noted somewhere in his medical chart. So that's why it's so important to kind of spread the word about this and make sure everybody's heard of Marfan syndrome and understands what Marfan syndrome actually is. This just can't be the healthcare providers. So it really needs to be
Mhm.
survivors, family, caregivers. Everybody needs to understand and be aware, at least about this condition, whether you're dealing with an aneurysm or you've had a dissection, or you think Marfan syndrome could be a related issue. Because remember, you could be patient X. You could be the first one. Our own Bill Barnhart did not have a family history, and he became the first person in his family that had this dissection and ended up having Marfan syndrome. Nobody had it before him.
Mhm.
So, in this article that I highly recommend everybody read, he's going to actually share his knowledge. Ryan is sharing his knowledge and personal experience to help kind of clear up some of the confusion around this often misunderstood condition. So He talks a lot about Marfan syndrome and how it's actually caused by a mutation in the FBN1 gene. Just picture a big DNA strain, and I'm picturing somewhere on there's like a bloop, weird mutation somewhere. But 75% or 3/4 of the time, the condition actually is inherited from an affected parent. So that's more likelihood scenario is that you're going to inherit. But 25% of the time, the condition actually occurs because of a new genetic typo in a child. However, that affected child's future could then have a 50-50 chance. So in Bill's case, he had 3 children and only one has Marfan syndrome. The other 2 do not have it at all. So if you're interested in learning about Marfan and you really want a very easy to read, easy to understand article, you need to check out Ryan's article. He's going to go into symptoms and diagnosis of the musculoskeletal system, cardiovascular system, including eyes, your vision, your pulmonary and other systems. He talks about his history and experience with Marfan syndrome, why people are not understanding it, how getting that diagnosis can be frustrating, not getting the diagnosis can be frustrating. So you really want to check this out. There's a lot of easy to understand information. And if you end up having a question like, could I have Marfan syndrome? I had a dissection. Here's some things I've been thinking about. Talk to your physician, bring up the article, even ask the question, because there's information in here as well about diagnosis, management, treatment, how you want to have regular checkups and monitoring, which we all do, how there might be medication and lifestyle modifications, surgical options, psychological, emotional support. He covers everything, especially genetic testing and counseling, and why it's so important when it comes to Marfan syndrome and how you can live with Marfan syndrome. I mean, everything is in here. Check it out. This is our second blog from our genetics series from Ryan Rodimer. Can't wait to see what he puts out in the next 2 weeks. But any questions about Marfan, this is where you need to go and check it out. Do you ladies have any questions about Marfan syndrome?
No questions. I just wanted to say this is an extremely understandable way. He's just very good at putting out this information so that anybody can understand it. He spells things out very clearly and concisely, and it's beautifully written, and it is an easy to read and digest material.
And you know what's interesting is I think I have the stats kind of sort of right, but even still, with all of this in-depth information, having a known genetic mutation or condition only represents still about 30% of the population of people with aortic disease issues. There's still 70% of us that have either yet to find out what it is, or it could have been trauma related or something like that, but we just don't necessarily have a known reason for it. And at the end of the day, we should still be treated as if we have that golden ticket when we walk in the door. So that's part of other things that we do here at Aortic Hope, is just hopefully give you the tools that if you don't have a condition like Marfan, that you learn how to advocate for yourself when you have to go to the ER. You know, I've heard you talk a lot about that too, Diane. Push your way in the door.
Absolutely. Yep.
So check out this article from Ryan again. Thank you so much, Ryan, for taking the time to write it. Very well written. I agree with you, Jenny. Good educational stuff.
He says, it's cool. I'm lucky. And then he's got a smiley face emoji going on.
Oh,
I said, I think so too. We're lucky to have you.
I think it's a little bit more than cool. A lot of cool. And thank you. All right. That takes us to what's going on. There's still so much going on this week. So today is, what is today? 17th? Oh my gosh, it's the middle of April. God, that happened so fast. All right, well, guess what's coming up? We have got tomorrow night on the 18th, 7 p.m. live with Chef Rob and Mindy Seltzer. They are Aortic Hope's new culinary and nutrition educators. So tomorrow night, we're going to interview Rob, and he actually survived an aortic dissection. He also had a secondary issue that he went into the hospital for. We're going to talk about his story a little bit, get him and Mindy to banter back and forth. And then we're going to go into his experience being a chef. And I believe he's a chef educator as well. So he's going to be educating us. And Mindy is a licensed nutrition therapist. So she's going to educate us not only on Mediterranean diet or in the DASH diet, They're going to talk everything food and answer your questions. And that's going to kick off what's going to begin our cooking series in May through some weeks in May, some days in June. We're going to be doing live demonstrations. You're going to have a chance to cook alongside of Chef Rob, and it's going to be a ton of fun. And we'll talk more about that soon. We've got another Aorta Hangout this Thursday. We've got 2 more left for this month. So they happen on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Everybody just comes together in a much more relaxed environment. Bring some chips, bring a drink, hang out, place some faces behind the names of the community members you see online. Obviously, we've still got weekend reviews coming up. We have our last virtual support group, which is open, general for all populations here in the community, happening on the 26th with a special guest, Dr. Kristen Watson, who is a doctor of pharmacy. We'll be there to answer all of your questions in a little bit more one-on-one environment. And that's what we've got happening right now through the month of April. It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff. And May is going to be just as equally as fun. I know we've got a fundraiser coming up April 30th. We've got a quarter auction. We're going to be benefiting from some of the funds that are obtained in this event through Beth Israel Congregation, the sisterhood here in Maryland. And so we've got in April. Got a lot.
Nice.
Lots of stuff going on. What you got going on, Diane? Anything you want to talk about or share?
Nothing, not really right now.
You're heading off to Rock from the Hearts event in May.
Possibly, yes. I've got to work out some details, but yes, I have that going on. And then I have to meet somebody from Aortic Hope. I don't know who it is.
I don't know.
But anyhow, day at a time, hon.
You got it. All right,
Yes.
Jenny, got anything else cooking? We got anything cooking? We'll be cooking tomorrow night. That's what we'll be doing. Cooking tomorrow night. All right. I think that's it. I think we did it. Thank you both. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Karen. Thank you, Pam. And thank you, guys. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, Josh.
Of course.
We will see you here same time next Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Have a wonderful week. Thanks again so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.